The American Revolution originates with the idea of mercantilism and how it allowed Great Britain to have full control over what the American colonies can trade and who to trade with. Now, this rule was enforced by the Navigation Acts, in which all European goods bound for America were required to go through Great Britain first. After the Navigation Acts were passed, English focused more on France, so colonists became more independent, caused by the salutary neglect. In southern colonies, plantations developed that specialized in cash crops. On large plantations, African slaves worked in fields to harvest to plant crops. The economy became less dependent on Great Britain because these large plantations are developing. During this time, the northern colonies gained immigrants from many European countries. Many Enlightenment ideas about nature came from many immigrants, and also Benjamin Franklin. He used experimentation and reasoning to determine questions about the world. This affected the colonies in a political way, questioning the British authority with natural rights as humans. In 1754, Britain and France conflict reignites. They were now fighting for control over North America. George Washington led British militia during the French and Indian War. The Fourth War became France and Great Britain. When Britain won the war, they brought new laws such as the Sugar Act to the colonies that angered the colonists. This law was placed in fear that colonists were smuggling goods. After the French and Indian War, Britain was in debt, so Parliament passed the Stamp Act. This made colonists buy certain stamped paper for everything, such as legal documents, which made money for Britain quickly. The Townshend Act was another tax put on imports from Britain. The colonists decided to boycott all British goods. After 2,000 soldiers were stationed in Boston, colonists gathered a mob and harassed the soldiers. They attacked the defenseless colonists, which became known as the Boston Massacre. 3 years later, the colonists rebelled again. They dressed as Native Americans and dumped 18,000 pounds of tea into the Boston Harbor, known as the Boston Tea Party. In retaliation to the Boston Tea Party, Britain passed the Intolerable Acts. They shut down the Boston Harbor and used soldiers to enforce the rules. The colonists disagreed, so the committees of the correspondence wrote a Declaration of Colonial Rights, which eventually led to the Declaration of Independence written by Thomas Jefferson. He declared that colonists maintained the rights described as life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The people that supported the independence were known as patriots. The Loyalists supported Britain. Loyalists made a plan to isolate New England, but surrendered to American troops at Saratoga. This showed France of the Americans' army ability and agreed to form an alliance. The final battle at Yorktown was won by the American and French troops in 1781. In 1783, the Treaty of Paris was signed, which declared the independence of the United States.